I still remember sitting on my grandmother's couch in the summer of 2013. Something that felt big was happening. It was coming.
It's bikers
Let's go.
versus surfers.
Teen Beach Movie. Looking back on it, I'm pretty surprised by how excited I was about this film. I think I was mostly cautiously optimistic with newly released TV, movies, and games, even as a kid. But with this movie, I'd fully drank the Kool-Aid. Disney Channel had advertised this movie to death, and as a 5-year-old with no frontal lobe, I was ecstatic to witness the second coming of High School Musical on July 19th, 2013, the night of its premiere. And after its hour and 50-minute runtime, as a 5-year-old, I really enjoyed it. Disney Channel had done it again, and in retrospect, gave me a pretty special memory. For the uninitiated, Teen Beach Movie is a Disney Channel original movie, meaning it premiered on the Disney Channel rather than in theaters, that centers around two teens, Mac and Brady, who are seemingly lifelong best friends who are enjoying the end of the perfect summer that they've shared. After spending the day with Mac, Brady goes back to her grandfather's house, where Mac's grandfather is watching a 60s musical about a conflict between surfers and bikers called West Side Story. Brady loves the movie, but Mac, despite being roughly aware of its existence, has never actually seen it, but hates musicals as a concept. All is well until about 10 seconds later, when Mac's aunt comes with the intention to take her away the very next day to some exclusive boarding school to fulfill her potential. Mac sees this as the only way to fulfill her dead mother's wish that her daughter would live life to the fullest. Brady is obviously blindsided by this and wants Mac to stay, but Mac guarantees him that she can't. The day of Mac's flight, a storm comes in, making prime surfing conditions, which Mac says she's waited her entire life for. So as a sort of send-off to her home, she must conquer these daunting waves. Despite not being told about her plan, Brady knows Mac well enough to go and find her as she begins to surf. Mac begins surfing but seems to be in danger, so Brady goes out to save her when the wave overtakes both of them. When they resurface, the ocean has become fully calm. As they go to shore, they're clearly not in the same place they started out. When they reach the beach, they're drawn into an impromptu musical number. The duo has entered the world of West Side Story, Brady's favorite movie. West Side Story is a fictional movie about two rival gangs, surfers and bikers, who both love the same beachside bar, causing conflict. The leader of the surfers, Tanner, and the biker leader's sister, Layla, fall in love after Tanner saves Layla, causing escalated conflict between the gang for a while before uniting the group to stop a common threat trying to destroy the beach. Mac and Brady need to navigate the movie's plot to hopefully find a way home without changing too much, unaware of what consequences might await them. They immediately mess this up when Tanner catches Mac and Brady catches Layla, causing the entire plot of the original movie to go haywire. After many goated scenes and catchy songs, Mac and Brady get closer to the characters of the movie. Mac focuses on telling the female characters that their life isn't set out for them and they can't follow somebody else's dream and have to forge their own destiny, and Brady just vibes. And in the end, after a lot more I'm cutting out for convenience, the fictional movie's plot gets back on track. Tanner and Layla get together. Mac and Brady, who were kidnapped, don't ask why, are saved, and a huge storm, just like the one that brought them there, is coming into shore, so the pair say teary goodbyes and go back home. And it's important to note that Layla gives Mac a necklace. When they return home, Mac tells her aunt that she wants to stay with Brady, and then there's one more honestly pretty forgettable musical number, and the movie is done. And honestly, what a film. It is far from perfect, but it's just really fun and honestly just a really novel concept. I think the whole idea of entering a movie and having to follow the plot is just super cool and well executed here. There are so many interesting plot points about our real human characters becoming more like movie characters, and what happens during the time between scenes, how goofy movie characters would act relative to normal people. The music, which I didn't really highlight before, is super fun and memorable, and the characters at the center are simple and cheesy, but likable and compelling nonetheless. Like, Tanner is this dramatic, kinda goofy, narcissistic guy, but with a heart of gold, and when compared to the rest of the movie's cast, his antics and strange pattern of speech are weird, but endearing, and they don't stand out like they might if passed off as more realistic dialogue. Keep this in mind. Then we have Layla, who is fascinated with the characters outside the movie, and is sort of bound to her time and position in this world, and she's also extremely goofy and good-hearted. Then we have the free-spirited Brady, who's just happy to be in his favorite movie and spend more time with Mac. And at the center, the heart of the movie, is Mac. She's a control freak teen who has to realize to listen to her own advice and learn to love the things she's always pushed aside. She strengthens those around her and finds a way to take control of her own destiny and loosen up a little bit. A very satisfying character arc to watch. The movie is just really good. So good that Disney announced a sequel, which was released in 2015. To be entirely honest, I never watched the sequel. I was fully satisfied with the experience I got from the first movie. I saw no reason to revisit these characters and world. I was blissfully unaware of the horrors that lie just below the surface of Teen Beach 2. That was before it happened. I saw a video talking about the first movie, which I enjoyed. It relit my interest in this movie and world I had seen so long ago. The same channel also released a video about the second movie, but I didn't want something that could possibly be on the same level as Teen Beach Movie to be spoiled. And regardless, I wanted to form my own opinions before some random YouTuber told me what opinion to have, so I rewatched the first Teen Beach Movie to prepare to dive into the belly of the beast, which is Teen Beach 2. And the movie held up remarkably well. I just really enjoy this old cheesy movie. What can I say? And now, refreshed on the plot and strengths of the original movie, I began the second. The movie begins with Mac and Brady on the last night of summer, reminiscing on the night they met, which
we met 3 months ago to this day.
Which was at the beginning of the summer. 3 months ago! This movie immediately creates a plot inconsistency with the last one. It was never clearly stated that these two knew each other for their entire lives, but when Mac talks about why she wants to stay with her grandfather, she says she wants to stay where Brady is, which as lifelong friends is reasonable, as a 3-month fling is irrational, and already hurts Mac's characterization of being logical. Mac also tells her aunt she wants to keep surfing, which Mac later tells Layla that Brady taught her everything she knows, meaning she learned this movie-defining passion 3 months ago. Also, Brady is super integrated into Mac's family. The aunt doesn't even bat an eye at him or attack the legitimacy of their connection.
I made a mistake.
Mac's grandfather seems closer to him than Mac. Again, it's never stated, but there was so much more of a connection between these two than a 3-month relationship. And why even make this such a clear plot point? I'm sure this isn't a setup for one of the worst plot twists in the history of human writing. But I'm getting so far ahead of myself. Let's hope that's the last time that continuity is broken so clearly. Wait, what are they saying?
You said,
Want to watch the awesomest movie ever made? Check it out with me. If you don't have a good time, I'll buy you a mango smoothie. Either way, you win.
Mac watched the movie? What the? Mac, for the entirety of the first movie, acts totally oblivious to the movie's plot, characters, and dance numbers. Why have they done this? For what purpose? It is such a clear violation of the continuity, and all of this is within the first few minutes of the movie. I might be exaggerating, but the movie had nearly fully lost me at this point. People who make sequels should live and breathe the original. This complete ignorance, or worse, disregard for basic plot points of the original makes for a sequel which right off the bat disrespects the original. Anyway, I'll move on. Mac and Brady watch the ending of West Side Story to reminisce, and we have our first song of this movie, and it's fine, but it just isn't very good. No part of this song makes me want to listen again. It just feels like filler. Anyway, Mac gets into the water and immediately loses Layla's necklace and gives up on looking for it after all of 2 seconds. So much for their everlasting friendship, but what do I know? And then Mac and Brady go home and we cut to the first day of school. Now the relationship between the good girl and the laid-back guy formed in the summer has to be tested in normal school circumstances, and if you look to your left, you'll see Grease getting ripped off. We also get introduced to side friend characters for Mac and Brady and a secondary love interest for Mac, and I'm sure these 3 characters will contribute anything to the movie. They don't. So yeah, Mac and Brady have some issues at school, which makes sense if these characters had to go to school together for the first time, but like the closeness they have so greatly exceeds a 3-month relationship, which makes the whole conflict kind of ring hollow. Unlike Grease, where they had a pretty reasonable great summer relationship and weren't making life-altering decisions for the other person they just met. But whatever, I gotta chill. So after their first rough day, Brady goes home and starts working on his prototype surfboards while he waits to do something he scheduled with Mac. Now we get to look back into the world of Teen Beach Movie, and okay, maybe I'm jumping the gun, I already don't like this. There is no real logic behind the movie universe in the first movie. We don't ask where these characters were before the movie starts, or what happens when the movie ends. The main characters are just in a movie, and that works. But the movie characters having an independent existence already raises questions, and wait.
Mac wasn't like any girl I ever knew. She inspired me. I miss her. I miss her too. And Brady, they were swell. But they're not here
Anymore.
They remember Mac and Brady? And just do the same things over and over again in a perpetual cycle, living through the events of the movie over and over again. This immediately makes the characters we spent the first movie with feel so much less human to have them not notice they exist in this time loop, meaning they had gone through the events of the movie already, before and after, and it's just, ugh. The only character who kind of starts to see that there's something off about their reality is Layla, which is a cool idea, you know, realizing your world is kind of hollow and fake. But I think the idea that this world goes on in a time loop is such a headache on its own. Also, it's just all for nothing in the end. Like, they could have written all of this out and removed all of these headaches with just some very minor writing tweaks, but again, I'm getting ahead of myself. Anyway, Mac's lost necklace washes up on the shore of West Side Story, and Layla just takes it and starts walking into the ocean hoping to find Mac, and Tanner follows her trying to save her. Cut back to the real world. And oh no, Brady's late. I'm gonna be totally honest, this scene isn't good, but this goofy scene where Brady is late and tries to put together a competent outfit, it just gives me like peak Disney Channel vibes, so I give it a pass. Again, as I said, Brady's late and Mac is with the other guy. I'm sure this presence will actually do something in the story. It definitely doesn't. And after one bad day, Mac and Brady get into a fight because Brady refuses to tell Mac about his whole prototype surfboard passion thing, which caused him to be late, because he's afraid she'll find his passion silly compared to her put-togetherness. And I don't know, man. I think engineering mixed with a shared passion won't destroy your relationship, but hey, what do I know? I'm not in the 3-month relationship.
Brady, we used to tell each other everything. What is happening with us?
Used to? When? A month ago? I hate this movie. They actually break up 1 day into school. Why is this relationship that used to be important just a plaything for these terrible writers to just mess around with? Then we get this emo song from Brady, which is probably the best song musically in the movie, but it's still not amazing, and honestly has no harmony within this franchise. Every other song has big choreography or impacts the plot in some way, but this one just shows Brady being sad and singing into a microphone, which just does not fit with the movie at all. It feels like the movie took a break from being a movie to just shove a music video in, rather than being well integrated. Oh, I got some scenes mixed up. That scene of Layla walking into the water actually happens now, and these scenes in the movie world pain me. This movie has a multitude of problems, but one of the biggest is Tanner shaped. Compare this scene of Tanner in the first movie.
Yeah, I feel like it's just something else that always gets in the way.
You're a pretty smart guy.
Yeah, but more pretty.
To Tanner in the second.
And I didn't question anything. Oh, I have one quick question. Where exactly is here?
The writers don't understand anything about their characters. Tanner was always a hot, cool guy who was nice and a little dumb and goofy. But in the second one, they stripped away all of this him being hot and cool and super dramatic, which was once punctuated by an unexpected goofy humor, and instead just replace it with a bumbling idiot who says everything in a dumb voice, who is genuinely so uncomfortable to watch. And for the rest of the movie, I'm sure having a character who used to be treated like a relatively competent adult become a bumbling kid in an adult's body will not be annoying. It will. Anyway, Tanner and Layla make it to the real world despite there being no storm when they got into the ocean, because who needs continuity and rules when you can just make things easier and make it up as you go along. Mac and Brady, who are still mad at each other, have to continue being close because they have to deal with Tanner and Layla now. And genuinely how weird Tanner is in this movie is something that I can't put into words how it makes me angry, but it's just so ugh. Oh, also, there's a song about the movie characters seeing modern technology. Believe it or not, it's entirely forgettable, but the idea is cool. There's a clever reference to the first movie.
Oh, I know, this electronic stuff can be really complicated.
No, I know this technology stuff can be really complicated.
And also, the movie characters still have some movie-like properties, which is the only time this movie has felt like an extension of the original in its entire first third. Now we go back to the movie world, which I genuinely hate as a concept, but I digress. And the whole cast doesn't know what to do because their predefined activities and time loop has been broken, which is a cool execution where we're at, but it's terrible that we're here in the first place, which is a sequel where not a single person must have seen the original. Anyway, there's a cool reprise of a song from the first movie, and I actually really like it. And at the end of the scene, this guy just dies, which I find just crazy. Like, why did this happen? Why did he die? What did he do? I don't know. It genuinely sends me, and no one in the movie acknowledges it for now. And people, again, are just dying in the West Side Storyverse and getting vaporized. So, hey, at least something in this movie made me happy for a brief second. Meanwhile, in the real world, Tanner and Layla go to high school where they obviously don't fit in. And Layla meets that secondary love interest for Mac. And she has a little bit of a crush on him. And I'm sure her having a crush on him will go somewhere. Everything this man does in his life is entirely meaningless, and it just takes away a bit of my sanity. Tanner and Layla bring their movie strangeness into another song where they make everyone happy, which is once again a really solid idea, which is really fun, built on terribly forgettable music. I remember specific cool shots and visual cues in this song, and the setup for the song story-wise is solid, but I cannot for the life of me remember a singular lyric. Back in the movie world, the characters realize that people are dying, which is pretty funny, and they start drafting solutions to the problem. Back in the real world, we get an extended scene of Brady and Tanner talking about how Tanner is becoming more emotionally complex, which is a great idea for a scene, and seeing someone come to terms with the difficulty of life is cool, but this character has devolved into an actual infant, making the whole scene somewhere between compelling and unintentionally unsettling. Why? And I know this actor can play this character, but some acting director just thought, oh, he was goofy sometimes in the first movie. Let's just make him speak like a kid with this weird uptone. And he looks so small. Like, I mean, it's the same guy, but he's shot to look so tiny. As I said before, Tanner and Layla are becoming more human, and Mac finally decides to tell them that they're movie characters.
You just made up characters from a movie. You are not real.
And need to go back. There's another song that triggered amnesia in my brain, I cannot tell you a single lyric, about Mac and Brady trying to convince them that the movie world is better. But Layla tells them she wants to be a real person with struggle and decisions, which is really cool. I don't like how this movie is set up at all, but this character arc of Layla wanting to be a real person is the only thing that has worked in any way this entire movie. And Layla not immediately folding and wanting to be a real person and struggling with that is awesome. And I'm sure that this movie will definitely give that plot a satisfying conclusion. Back in the West Side Story world, only the named characters are left and decide to go to the real world to find Layla and Tanner and bring them back. Once again, no storm is required, just shove this emblem on something and it'll be able to travel through dimensions, which is just, love that. Definitely does not cause any issues and kind of make this whole whimsical world feel like this really just bad sci-fi with no rules, but anyway, I could yap. Layla and Tanner watch Mac and Brady fight and start coming to terms with the more complicated relationships of the real world. And yeah, this plotline is really good. I like it a great deal. This moment is interrupted by the cast washing up on shore, which is kind of cool and a great way to keep the momentum of the story. They explain how people are disappearing because the stars of the movie, which are necessary for its existence, have disappeared, slowly erasing the movie from existence. And dang, this is a really cool conflict about finding the balance between what you want to do, staying in the real world, and what you have to do, going back to keep the movie alive. I don't like how we got here, but this whole dilemma that Layla has to face has been worth it. How will she come to terms with the fact that she can't follow her dreams and has to sacrifice everything?
It's not your fault. Okay, there's no way you could have known this was gonna happen.
I'm gonna go back. It's our job to be characters in a movie.
Oh yeah, it's fine. Oh yeah, it's fine. Oh yeah, it's fine. Who made this film? It hurts. It hurts to watch. This plotline goes nowhere, and don't you dare point to the end of the movie. That is not a resolution to this, but I'm once again getting so far ahead of myself. You had one morsel of a good idea in a garbage stack of a movie, which was watching these characters become more acquainted with the greater freedoms and suffering of reality, and how they need it now that they've tasted it. But we wrote ourselves into a corner, so now I just have to go back immediately without a second thought. Layla doesn't even have time to express a single emotion. Also, Layla having to go back or else she'll die removes all agency, the ability to make decisions, from her character. You know, kind of the defining trait of her in this movie, wanting to take more control of her destiny than the world ever allowed. Why can't there be a way only Layla survives and watch her struggle with that? Or at least get pissed off at the immovable status of the world? But that would take good writing and actually be interesting, and that is far too much to ask for Teen Beach 2. So the entire West Side Story cast just leave immediately, and Mac and Brady have to go to this dance thing that has been set up since the start of the movie, but I didn't mention it. My bad. So yeah, just we don't need the characters, and the one good plot line, just send it away. And I can't take it. I genuinely can't. Why? Okay, so Mac and Brady go to this dance. They throw the secondary love interest at Mac's friends, and I really have already ranted too much. But what do the writers not understand? Why her? There's a scene at the beginning of the movie where this guy looks entirely disinterested in her.
You look great. It's really, really great. Super great. Perfect even.
I'm gonna have to shut this down. This looks like my movie.
Thanks, Alyssa. I appreciate it.
Goodbye, guys. See you soon.
So, Mac, I'm happy that you're in this class. I heard that you started an oceanography club.
Because he's interested in Mac. And then the movie plays with the idea of him and Layla, which goes nowhere, but would have been so remarkably easy to have this guy express interest in Mac's friend earlier, but instead they don't, to preserve drama between this guy and Brady. And I thought maybe this movie's doing something kind of interesting, where a character doesn't automatically get to be with the person they want. Maybe it could be a small supplemental role in the film showing that not everybody in high school has already found the love of their life. But no, these two just pair up because they look lonely, and again, math is, and that's what love is, because this movie doesn't know anything about who humans are. Then Brady goes and has a little talk with his bro, and the entire cast of the Teen Beach movie just comes back. And this is gonna sound crazy, but I actually like something this movie does. This is huge. Yeah, that was it. Just that shot of Tanner on a scooter. This is no longer the Tanner of the first movie who was competent, charming, and goofy, but if we're gonna get baby Tanner, at least let him ride in goofily on a Segway and point straight to the camera like an actual toddler. Anyway, the movie cast tells Brady that they came back to help him fix his issues with Mac. And of course we get a song, and it is way too long, but I like it. It's still going. Anyway, the song ends with Mac and Brady together, and then this guy dies, and the characters are like, dang, maybe we should get back. Also, Layla comes off as so aggro here. I mean, like, dang, like, calm down.
This is happening. How do we make this all right? How do we get back before we all vanish?
I understand trying to establish her as a leader, but the complete lack of care after her brother was vaporized is a little bit strange. Slowly but surely, the rest of this cast is also vaporized, leaving only Tanner, Layla, Mac, and Brady. The big four. Only one of Brady's special surfboards can help them get home, so he tells Mac about his surfboards that he didn't trust her with at the beginning, and she obviously really respects the grind, and then there's another teary goodbye. Also, to make sure the board can go into the movie world, they literally super glued the flower symbol on it, so that's the one thing that this movie stays consistent on, which, it's a choice. Now we, the audience, get introduced to the idea that if Tanner and Layla disappear, there would be no movie, taking away the experience that linked the two together at the start. Without Teen Beach Movie, they would never have met. Brady says it'll be fine, and Mac tells Layla she can still try to be different when she goes back to the movie. Then there's this high-tension scene of Brady fixing the surfboard so it'll work, and finally Brady gets out of the water, safe, journey done, and runs right past Mac, and she looks at him curiously. Some beachside event catches Brady's eye. He checks it out and finds out it's a Save the Beach fundraiser, where a 1962 beach movie will be shown called Layla, Queen of the Beach, where a girl he's never seen before convinces him to watch the movie. Oh my. So basically, Layla goes back to the movie and changes the status quo to the point where the entire movie has changed, erasing Mac and Brady's meeting from existence. For a second, I'm surprised, shocked by the insanity. And then, the next second, I start to get angry. What have I just witnessed? I want to ask kind of a stupid question. What was Teen Beach Movie? It was a fun film about two great friends and love interests whisked away to a magical world which adhered to fun, simple logic, in the end telling a fun story with catchy music and delivering the message to children that you can forge your own destiny, but all of that is gone now. The movie entirely undoes the first one. Teen Beach 2 ends in such a way that there is no Teen Beach Movie. Why is Mac here in the first place? Her experience in the first movie made her stay. This movie loves playing with cause and effect to erase Mac and Brady from existing, but hate looking at the scope of how they altered the world. If this is what they were going to do, they could have sent Mac to boarding school and set up a third movie. This movie cannot be real. In fact, this movie made a not real movie, a no longer existent not real movie, and this real movie no longer exists. These writers don't understand cause and effect at all. They like playing with the idea of Mac and Brady's meeting, but don't realize that if you take this movie out of the equation, she would be gone. And if losing the stars destroys the movie, then why did nothing happen for the entire first film when Mac and Brady ran around messing things up? And now let's look at why West Side Story changed, which was for the one good thing this movie had going for it, Layla's dilemma. And oh my goodness, it messed up. Layla being a girl boss in the movie world does jack to make her a more independent person. She is still enslaved to a life in a time loop forever, just now one where she's gained more status. Oh, okay? Was that what she wanted? The agency to take a little more power in a narrow world? Why did I care? How could I believe that whoever made this movie would resolve anything well? I can't, genuinely. This is the worst movie I've ever seen. It is terrible in its own right, failing at everything it does while entirely destroying the legacy of its predecessor. With most truly terrible sequels, they exist far enough from their original you can forever distance them in your brain. This movie retains the same production quality, cast, and relies heavily on plot points of the original movie, all to destroy everything about it. All of this creates my least favorite movie ever made, something I so passionately hate. That is how Teen Beach 2 took everything from me and ruined my life. Also, the last song in the movie is garbage.